else have any questions following on from that? I could see people doing some furious scribbling. Nobody. Ian.
Slightly obscure in a sense, but do you think, in a sense, you're linking humanity to the creative process? A big part of me wants to just agree, but there's always some flags come up for me about, in that case, people who are less capable of engaging people perhaps with severe learning disabilities. How are you tying that in with the fact that they are, are still fully valuable and human, but perhaps lack that ability to produce or even engage in the process?
So let's just repeat that for the online. So the question was to do with linking humanity and the creative process, and whether people perhaps with learning difficulties are still able to contribute fully to a creative process.
Yeah, I think they are fully human. Is what I'm saying is they're just a danger in the argument, not in the.
Yeah, I would affirm and remind the fact that there's a difference between expressing a creative action and the creative action itself. They can participate in the process of creativity because they can imagine or experience or all of those. Sometimes that creative process, in terms of its full realization of, sometimes people with dementia, for example, can't remember, and sometimes, but they still have something going on in their mind. There's still an imagination, and therefore they are still part of the creative process. Our job as agents for God, if you like, or as just loving human beings, is to enable them at their pace and in their way to express what's going on for them. And there are theatre companies up and down the country that are doing that work, and so I would say carry on doing that for them.
And churches up and down the
country. And churches up and down the country as well, yes.
Okay, any other questions? Yeah, at the back.
I wonder if there's a difference between looking to the future and living in the future, and that if you're looking, in terms of your prompt script image, you're very much suggesting this idea that you're living in the future and stuck in a way that you can't get past it. Whereas looking to the future can very much be an action of the present. And to what extent should that role of looking forwards, perhaps the role of the prophetic, be present amongst our communities and churches?
To what extent should we be looking to the prophetic role, looking to the future as feeding into our lives now?
Yeah, rather than living in the future, which is the kind of prompt script.
Yeah. My immediate reaction is I wouldn't deny that there's nothing wrong with looking to the future, of seeing an intended future. What I would say is that it is very difficult, once we think we've seen an intended future, to think that it's happened or that it's going to happen. It's about being controlled by that, which is actually just a dream, it's just an imagination. I would bring in work from Walter Brueggemann about prophetic imagination, about allowing it to be an imagination. It's about allowing it to be a good place, a good thing, but to know that the decisions have to be made now, and therefore we must live in the present. So I don't think there is anything wrong with looking to the future, but it is very difficult for us not to live there once we've looked. So I think if you look at the vision literature and the vision of many churches and many theatre companies as well, is that once you've seen it, that's how it's going to be, whether we like it or not. And actually there's no sense of the imagination of being free from implementation, of being free from how it all fits together. And so in terms of church vision, we quite often say, well, that's God's vision, so he'll get it done, he'll make it happen. But actually that's, in a way, implicitly passing on decisions, We've got to be very careful not to do that, not to be passive in that, and just to say, well, that's God's vision, so we'll just carry on doing this. Yes, we might change a few things, but actually it kind of changes, it takes our focus off, we've got to be Christ-like in this moment, we've got to love our neighbour and love God, to actually, we've got to implement that future. So it's very difficult, but I get your point, and I don't know the answer fully, sorry.
Okay, I think we're going to have to end it there. We're a little bit over time already.